Right, this is going to be another episode of Hot Take Point Made, which I will remind people, the points are hot takes. So it's mainly Maui that gets the beating, I noticed from this one, which is like, he intentionally is encouraged to make the take as hot as possible. Remember, there was even, I'll give you an example. There was even that episode where I actually did what at the time was a pretty big hot take. Like Navi would make the final in like one of their first two events with Wonderful. And then Kassad was like, you have to say they'll win. Oh, it's not a hot take. It's like, all right, okay, well, do that. Okay, then they win. Sadly, what I should have just said was they'll win a big event. And then I could have like pretended now, like, oh yeah, I was meaning the major or something. Like, sadly, I said the first two events, did that. So I did myself on that one. It's all good. It's all good. Then again, at least I'm not doing a Kassad. Like, yeah, but what about like a month and a half ago? I did say on Discord, like they might win the major. It's like, all right,
I know, looking good.
What lawyer is? Yes, it was. It was something like they're looking good. You're right. But he turned that into like, I basically said they'd win the major. And then it's like, why didn't you pick them in the pick'em? Look, the pick'ems are a different thing. Like, give me a fucking break. Anyway, we all know the way people do this shit. I
know. I just have to get this off my chest. I know for major type things is anybody that makes a prediction, if it's some half-ass prediction, like I think, for example, I think like on like counterpoints, I think you and Maniac said, you know, there's a chance Ents bomb out of this, but it's like, but if you guys put them on your pick'ems to make it through, it doesn't count. I know, yeah, you can't count. Like you can't just sprinkle bets everywhere. Like pick'ems are the one spot where it's like that's you putting it on the line. It's almost like putting your money where your mouth is because you have one chance to actually put that. So that's why the major is a different beast with predictions. In other times, other tournaments, I can just sprinkle things around and then just like, you know, I can hedge my bets a little bit more.
Yes. Also, people have to realize, as much as they might think I just do whatever I want. No, like I'm so legit. I could even now go like, I support Alexi B, all those shit. Yeah, even I literally am so gangster. I released reflections with Alexi B on the same day I released a column on my Substack why it was a fluke he won the major. Like, you let me know what, listen guys, you let me know what Zemu stands out there and like, Zemu's the GOAT, but yeah, that was like kind of a Mickey Mouse major. Yeah, let me know when you guys come with that opinion and then you can maybe get in the arena with us because right now we're fucking taking all the slings and arrows. Okay. Who's going to start us off on this newest episode? Because I feel like right now, by the way, CS2 is primed for some crazy hot takes because there are big names that aren't that good now. There are like underdog teams that are coming out of nowhere doing all sorts. So where are we going on this one? Who's going to start us off?
I wanted to sneeze so bad, but like maybe that's a signal that I should start.
Is that some sort of like Freudian like suggestion that like, yeah, what's going on here? Okay.
But the thing is, I'll start with VP.
Come on.
I'll start with VP. Just
oh, he's gonna, I know. Let me just guess.
Maui.
He's gonna actually undercut the whole thing and say they won't be good or something. Come on, hit me with it. Hit me with it. I want
close
to see
enough.
this.
Close
Come on,
enough.
please. Come on, please.
In the next 3 big events or 3 months, let's say.
I like the time frames. I always like time frames, by the way, because I've realized the bad thing about hot takes is the ones where like why did I do those ones like this team will never win a major ever? It's like we're not going to be doing the major in 10. If this show's on in 10 years, I can't even get my props, can we? That's like when people make those bets that you can make in the UK of like you'll die at a certain age. It's like, how do you collect the money? What's the point in the bet? You know what I mean? Like it sounds cool, but it doesn't work. So come on then, hit me with it. Why is VP going to blow up in the next 3 events? So hit me with it.
If they don't win an event in the next 3 months or 3 big events, Jame is going to get sacked.
Oh.
Of all the people, like you could have picked up Jame is going to get sacked. Like the guy.
Jame is going to get sacked.
Hit me with this. Come on. Where's this even coming from? You've been cooking with this, mate. Come on.
Listen. They're going to get another Opera and Electronic is going to go back to the IGLing role.
Okay.
That is what's going to happen. Now that they changed the play, right? They removed Mir. They got Electronic, which is like I guess it's a good upgrade, more than a good upgrade. I think people are a little bit like overestimating Electronic. I don't think this is the Electronic that was like known before his time in Navi and Flipside before and all this stuff, right? He's not that Electronic anymore. So people like remember him as that one. And I don't think he can be that one anymore, but he's still good, very good player. And also he's a very kind of an aggressive player. He's not super aggressive, but he's not defensive type of player, right? So now that you have Flit as super aggro player, that you have Electronic, who is an aggro player, and that you have obviously Norbert, who is, you know, he's not super defensive, but he's super supportive and he knows how to play his job, how to play his role and how to do his job properly, more than properly, like actually really good. Now his system is not really working out for those players, as we can see in their, you know, in their games. Fame, obviously, he is a defensive-ish player right now, but he's super sharp, very good player overall. He can fit in that system, and in when it comes to the rest of the players, I don't think they will be as good as people think they will be, and that's primarily because the IGLing and the system that he is running. So that's why I give him 3 months or 3 events, whatever you want to do it, like big events, like IEMs and stuff. And if they don't deliver a title, like literally a title, he is gonna be out, and they are gonna pick an Oper and give the IGL role to Electronic. And that Oper might be Modesty. You never know, right?
He just throws that in at the end. It's like he just put that Monacy's joining VP. It's like that's not even the hot take, Maui. That's like I probably should be Monacy if I had to pick up. Go on then, come on then, Maui. You need to do. We're reversing the dynamic now. Are you going to now do like? Are you insane? Like hit me with it. Come on.
That to turn their back on Jame that quickly would just be absurd. VP they're living, they're dying with Jame. He is an irreplaceable backbone to the roster. To have to watch Electronic go back into the in-game leader role, like I would rather watch Norbert demos pre-2020, okay? Like, I would rather just watch those because there is nothing I want to see. Like, there's nothing of Electronic as an in-game leader that was positive without Blade. Everything on that Cloud9 tenure before Boomich was just abysmal. Like, I thought Nafany was a bad caller. Electronic, I think he tried to one-up him at times. It looked horrible. And I don't think that with Dastan behind them, like this is a Jame Dastan system, but it's mostly Jame. Jame's the one that's making the live round calls, saying to save, saying to go for some sort of weird play, something that's a little bit out of the box, weird, out of meta. And I want to say this, like, I think you're getting a little bit excited by the fact that they lost to Fnatic in their first round at EPL. There are other games. They cleaned everybody up, okay? Like, there's nothing to worry about right now with VP. The first one versus Fnatic, like, it was a close nail-biter map 3 loss to Fnatic in the first outing with Electronic, and people were ready to just start saying it's not a good team. They're done. Like it didn't matter or whatever. It's like, come on, like you watch them play Saw, they dominated them. You watch them play Fnatic again, they beat them pretty handily. They beat Saw pretty handily as well. They did drop it to FaZe, but like that's FaZe. Okay, FaZe are good. Obviously, like I'm not holding them to play against them. 3 months is just too little. I'll say that. Like the main thing is the time frame here. It's too short. I can see in a long time from now, like a year, like they move away from Jame. They want a new Opera. There's a new IGL on the block, but right now, getting Electronic back just does not feel like an option for any team. And for Operas right now, even Zywoo himself rated Jame as like one of the best Operas at Pro League.
Cool, because Zywoo shoots really good, and so he knows who is the best Opera, right? Like, what are you saying? That's just nonsense. The thing is, like, look at the results. They said they beat Fnatic, they beat Saw, they beat Fnatic, they beat Saw again, and that's it. Like, who did they beat? They lost.
Well, I didn't play anyone else, but okay. Yeah.
I mean, okay. The thing is, like, it's just look at the Chengdu results as well. Like, they lost to Australis. They were 2-1 against the Australians. The Australians who never beat anyone ever. And then they lost to G2, and also on this event they lost to FaZe on Vertigo, which they pick. Like, what are you talking about? And then people say, oh yeah, because they didn't play Vertigo, Electronic didn't play it, or whatever the hell that is, and it's like they need more time. It's too short. I don't think so. I think they're going to give him a limited amount of time. My timeline is 3 months or 3 events or whatever, and then he's out.
I will say, here's the reason why. Unless you have some secret connection you're not using, you're just like, no, like Electronic's like, don't worry, I'll get this bitch out in 3 months flat. Like, unless you've got some insane connection. I actually do think Maui should have just actually done the like, are you insane? And done like the kassad. Because here's why. Because, bro, pick anyone else. In fact, most top teams, literally almost any team. You know what? There's a higher likelihood, is hot take, that fucking NiKo isn't in G2 than fucking James not in VP. Like, that at least makes some sense. Here's why it's not going to happen, kassad. The guy did win them a motherfucking major, and he was the MVP of it too, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Virtus.pro should be building a fucking statue outside their, like, actual building for him. Like, he did it with the bad Norbert, by the way. He did it with, like, fucking players it wasn't this elite team that he has now. With that said, though, if you want to lay the groundwork, that it's not, like, implausible. Like, essentially, there could be a case to do it. I will say, people will notice I'm one of the only people who didn't just, even though I think Electronic is definitely better than me, I didn't just do the thing of like, right, they've got the super team, they're definitely going to win. In fact, I do notice, as much as people are confident, I haven't heard anyone say this team wins the major. I've noticed that's kind of weird, considering everyone's telling me it's cracked out. Like, every position is supposed to be firepower. Every player, this is a team where on paper, guys, every player could be a 1.2 rating player. I mean, not really, but you know what I mean? If you think of their career and where they've been, like, that should be possible. So I will say, I do notice people aren't going, they'll win everything. And the reason why I've held back a little bit is, first of all, I pointed out on my other shows, like on Counterpoints, we've also done this a million times in VP. Like, they keep adding firepower. We're like, finally, they've got the insane team, but it doesn't always work all at the same time. But the bigger issue to me is this. I agree with what Kassad said in this essence, which is, I do think one of the things that made Jame eventually become legendary is that he did do it with that weird style of play and calling, but he actually didn't have the craziest team at the time. I think that's why he got a lot of props for the IM Rio win, actually. Like, he was the dude who did it all. But you look at some of the lineups later with better firepower, and they're actually more underwhelming than that. And in fact, I do think what's at test isn't necessarily Jame the player, but Jame the caller is the bit under the most pressure ever now, because what excuse does he have now if he doesn't win? You know what I mean? Like, bro, you even just got electronic. Like, remember, even a hater of Simple goes, he had electronic. Now Jame has electronic and Flit, and Norbert's like been over the fucking par all these months and months. And then you know what? Like, if the worst players fame, they're gonna. I agree with you in this sense. They have to cook. There can't be any like, oh, they made top 8. Like, this needs to be a team that if it doesn't win everything and the major, it's like right up there. It's like they should almost miss an era with this talent, because if he is truly an all-time great in-game leader, I mean, I know there's CS going to CS2. What excuse is left? You know what I mean? Listen, one thing I never ever did with Carrigan, and anyone who's around can attest to this, I never ever made an excuse for that FaZe Clan team, because I understood when you have Prime NiKo, end of Prime Guardian, Prime Rain, and then fucking Olaf chilling and actually a fairly decent entry star support at the time, you should win everything, mate. There's no excuse not to. Like, if you don't, you played a part in not winning. That's why I've never said it's just NiKo cost them the Boston Major. No, Carrigan's calling cost them it too. So I think the thing is, even though I don't think he'll actually get fired, I think that's too much of a hot take, especially because I just don't believe anyone will pivot to the electronic IGL angle. I do agree, though, that, like, this could be, actually, despite what fans think, maybe it's going to be a hard time for Jame, because he must deliver now. Like, now there can't be cool results and we're underdogs and we can push teams. No, you got to just win now, mate. It's time to actually, and by the way, how about winning some 2-0s? Do you know what I mean? Does every game have to be 3 maps, 16, 14, overtime, 13, 11? Let's win some fucking games. Let's get cooking now we've got the firepower.
Yep.
I will say the one thing that's like, the James' inability to make players fit into his system, it's kind of like the anti-Carrigan in ways, where basically James always on the hunt for somebody that's going to work in his ridiculous fashion, as opposed to, I mean, Carrigan just he'll put any 5 people together and he'll play whatever system is best for them. And so I this is just getting more nuanced on it and everything. And like, I don't actually think he's going to be out within 3 months or anything like that. But I also think, like, if he doesn't make this fit, I can see why he would absolutely be on the hot seat for, say, 6 months from now. I think one thing, though, that's really interesting about this, that I'm kind of thinking about after ESL Pro League, is that Dust 2 is in and Overpass is out. And I'm sure we'll maybe talk about the map pool later. But, like, the main thing with VP is that I actually, like, VP was pretty good at Dust 2, but Overpass is flat out their best map. And I feel like that's going to hurt them almost, like, that's going to hurt them in a weird way that I almost feel like it's hard to put too much pressure on Jame for 3 months when Dust 2, when literally their best map, the map that they will try to first pick in series, is out of the pool now.
Sure.
It's crazy. Like, they're like, they were okay on Dust 2 before, but it's
Yeah.
still, like, for me, it's the way the players that he have, like the natural instincts of the players that he have right now is even more aggressive rather than more patient and defensive, right? It's just, for me, that's the thing. It's like, you cannot, even if you would like you would like to do it, like, it's always hard to kind of go against the instincts, you know? It would be just like getting Duncan to work in a library or something. Like, there is no way that happens.
It's a good analogy,
No
actually. It's not
fucking-
bad.
no fucking
it's
way.
not bad.
No
True.
fucking way.
True.
But the thing is, like, it's just, for me, I see a very limited timeline for him.
Put it this way, I'll tell you a funny story along those lines, because it is true. I am incorrigible. You know, it's just who I am. One time, I won't say the setting, or as in the specifics, but I was once at an awards show where when the person came on stage to present an award, it was a woman and she looked really fucking scruffy, guys. Like, she looked like a 40-year-old, like, academic, and her hair was all fucked up and tangly. And I said something, like, turned to someone, like, it's fucking Hagrid from Harry Potter or something. And then they were just like, you've got to keep your voice down. Come on, man. And then I realized at that moment, I probably wasn't a little bit too loud. I should have whispered that. You know, that's the sort of thing you whisper. Yeah. You don't just go, hey, it's a fucking Hagrid. Right? So you know what? You're right. That's a bang on analogy. All right, I've got a hot take for you. But here's the thing. Even though I know all ye old Zoomers are going to be like, he's glazing, which, by the way, at this point in time, like, have you just actually pathologized all positive interactions between humans? Like, if someone hugs their mum, you're like, stop glazing her, bro. Stop fucking glazing her. Why you want a dick all day? You know what I mean? Like, it's like those people where, like in the NBA, now he knows this, where every single thing, like, I think Kyrie's jump shot's amazing. Wow, stop dick eating, bro. It's like, fucking hell. Can I enjoy anything? Can anything be good? Fucking hell. So here's what I will say. Everyone's going to think it's glazing, but I'm doing this because you made this a hot take, motherfuckers. I actually think I already knew it before, but I'll say it now anyway. You know how I know Kassad must be one of the best coaches in Counter-Strike? Because let me just set some context for you guys, if you haven't been watching Bleed. You all told him that he wasn't just a shit coach. He was a moron for putting this team together. And every player, I'll give with the exception of Hampus, is a bum who shouldn't even be in tier 1. So let me run down the list for you. So Hampus, I'll give you. I think people did acknowledge he was good in an IP and they thought he had value. Let's go down the others. So Cypher, you all made a fucking meme and said should never play Counter-Strike again, both from TSM and from early time in Bleed. You all, when he came back, you all laughed like, Cypher, what's he going to do? He had one run ever into the breach. That's a year later. Then we'll go Cirque. You all said he's a check stealer who will never be good again. By the way, if you don't know, he's actually carrying series right now. Kassad said he'd make it back again. Fladden guy was just a stand-in for fucking Ents that no one was like, you must sign this. Like, I noticed, by the way, he's from the Balkan Ridge guys. No one was like, G2 should sign him instead of Next. No one ever said that comment ever in the world. And then lastly, we've got Farven. He's supposed to have been the failed fucking chosen one of Big that didn't make it and made people like Maui like not quite get the fucking predictions they made because they were hyping him, etc. Like, guys, the IGL can't be the one carrying the whole fucking team. If people don't know, this whole team's at a mad club. Yes, they're not yet at the tier 1 level. They haven't had a chance to even go to the lands yet. But if you ever go and look, I kept saying this, there's a reason why Reddit's just quiet as fuck. And I showed 2 things on Twitter. One, because if you don't know, Bleed's won something mental, like off the top of my head, I don't know, like 18 out of 21 best of 3s played in like a fucking 1 month span. And then also, because of that, when you go onto that page that you all love, where you go, anyone can look up the veto, go look up a Bleed match. And you know when it shows the maps, yeah, they have a win rate on every single fucking map they play. A winning rate. And most of them are like 70, 80%. It's just, so look, that doesn't mean that like he's won the fucking major. But you all said he had shit pieces. You set the table that his pieces were trash and shouldn't even be in this team. And lastly, I'll just say what I said on Twitter. If this lineup had been announced for TSM or OG Esports, you would all say, like, fire the GM. This lineup is fucking trash. Wow, get some money and buy players, bro. And then lastly, are you ready for the ultimate cherry on top of the cake? He even told you, dickhead, the entire team, buyouts and all, was what, like, one tier 1 buyout would be for one player. What more do you want? Does he have to fucking, like, pull Vladden out and play himself and fucking shoot him in the head? Like, what more do you want him to do? Anyway, that's enough glazing, as the kids say, not giving people their flowers. Go on, then.
Go, Maui.
Well, I mean, the Bleed results lately have been pretty hard to dispute. I mean, I feel like it's obvious that people in this community have... There's so much ire that's drawn for basically all 3 of us. And then so anything that we attempt to do is just constantly just berated for a multitude of reasons. Like, I mean, obviously, like, people wanted Flashpoint to fail. Like,
dude, do you remember when they used to say for real that I'd actually ruined CS by bringing a tournament that gave $2 million to like NA teams essentially? Like, that's when I knew I can't win, mate. You can't ever win.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. People want to watch.
It was so
us
horny
fail
for that
so
to
badly.
fail.
Yeah, that it's just like it's really hard to reckon with like what's actually going on or like what they're thinking. So everything is completely irrational when it's against any of us three. And so to see kassad having success like this lately with Bleed, like, you know, I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna mega glaze myself on it, but like, I mean, it's obvious that there's been significant improvements because I watched all those open qualifier games. I watched you guys not make it even to the close qualities and stuff like that. But I have seen a little bit lately. I forgot. I watched one match pretty recently from you guys. It might have been against Bait. Or no, it was against Big. I think it was against Big actually. And I think I watched some of that one where you guys were able to beat them, and you had to play with like. Did you have to play with somebody? Like you had to do something else. You had to like change up. Oh, you played with Rusty. You played with Rusty for like a map or something like that.
Yes.
And you still won. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, so that's. I don't know if I should be mad at Big for that, for not beating you guys there, or I should just be happy that you guys won. But no, all in all, I do feel like the way that you guys have come together at this point, I am looking forward to more Bleed in the future. That being said is certain, and I feel like it's just like. It really does. It does feel nice for any of us in any context to just stick it to the general public.
Of course.
The thing is, like, I'll tell you what's happening in like a short term. We after like 3.5 months, we kind of set up the proper system completely, right from the bottom till almost like there is like gaps in the whole structure right now. It's still not ready yet, but I feel like we have routines, we have like processes, we have people who understand their roles. Nobody is expected to like carry the team or anything like that. Everybody understands what they need to do in terms of their own positions, in terms of preparations. One thing that I have with this team right now is the fact that that I never had before. Well, literally never. That everybody, all 5 players, because we have this thing called Skybox, you know, as a software.
Yeah, I'm just shit. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and which is really, really fucking good. Like, it's not cheap, but it's really good, right? And everybody is preparing, and everybody is watching their demos like really, really hard. Like every time we come before the match, because for example, like we played like. Only this month we played over 25 best of 3s, like one best of 3 a day.
Dude, you were playing 2 sometimes in a day. I've seen it.
Yeah. The thing is, like, it was crazy. It was crazy. The schedule is crazy, but that's what we signed up for in January, right? We said, like, this season is going to be a massive grind. We're going to be pissed off. We're going to be frustrated. It's going to be fucking hard, right? So that's what we are doing. But, like, every single player is watching demos before the game, coming up with ideas like, listen, guys, let's play this type of banana shit. Like, let's do this. And it's like, it's making my job a lot easier right now as a coach, because like the players do that, so I don't have to like consider every possible angle before going into the game. So you know, we kind of agree on that one, and everybody's respecting that. We also have a good like coaching staff behind me as well, so the system is up and running. Like, how far can we get? I don't know. I wouldn't even like, personally, I wouldn't call us a tier 2 team yet, solid tier 2 team yet. I wouldn't, because I really need to see 1 or 2 or 3 lands to see how people behave when I cannot speak for like all the time on TeamSpeak, right? When they have to do the thinking for themselves more, when they then have like 10 corrections, like when we have like 3-4 timeouts, I need to see like how they're gonna react on LAN events, right? But we are doing well, and I'm happy about it, and like all the haters can fuck off. Yeah.
Okay. Maui, you have a hot take? By the way, don't worry. If Bleed ever does tank, I also will, for comedic purposes, do a hot take. Like, they should fire the whole team and the coach just for the old time's sake, you know. Go on then, Maui. You got a hot take?
Yeah. I've thought when you were leading up to your point about kassad and Bleed, I thought you were going to say the same hot take I have, which shouldn't be a hot take at all. But the community has gone so far in the opposite direction on just the reactionary, oh, he's washed, he's no longer good, he's no longer top 20. Like, this shouldn't be a hot take, but apparently it is. And I can't believe it, but it's just like everything I'm reading, a lot of people like on forums, everything like that, just think that this guy shouldn't even be on this team anymore. It's just like this take is very simple. I'd be surprised if you guys even disagree with it. So maybe it's bad for the show in your reactions, but it needs to be said for the community as a whole. It's just that NiKo is still a top 20 player. That's the hot take. NiKo is still a top 20 player. It's unbelievable that people have just put him on this lofty pedestal where they expect that he's going to drop a 1.3 rating every single time. And yeah, what he did towards the end of CSGO was unbelievable. He was the best rifler in the game. And today, I could say safely, he's not the top rifler in the game, but he's still absolutely a top 20 player. When you watch him play, it's still just nobody can still do some of the things that NiKo does in terms of kills in succession with just multi-fragging in terms of like passive positioning, because so many people kind of seemingly have to like work and aggress to find multi-frags, but NiKo is still one of the people where you corner him and he's one of the few people with a rifle that can just destroy everybody. Like think of B Bombsight Inferno, like the things he did to M80 were disgusting, and they were shooting back really hard against everybody else on his team. So there's still things, and also beyond that, for people that just want to say like, oh, but he's bad in these certain big games, whatever. I just want everybody to just go top 20 filter for this year with any minimum map stats, and he's still clearly a top 20 player. He's still like, the stats are there, the eye test is there. Sure, in some big games, like Monacy's the one that steals the show, or sometimes NiKo doesn't activate as hard as you would want him to be for a superstar, which he should be, but he's still obviously one of the best rifles in the game. I would still safely say he's a top 10 rifler in the game, and easily a top 20 player overall.
Okay. I can take this one if you
go for
want
it.
to think about it more. The thing is, the G2 team, the problem is that I agree with you that definitely that he is top 20 player, no doubt about it, even top 10. The thing is, like with him right now, he's a part of the problem in G2. He's not. I cannot say he's not the problem in G2, but I cannot also say that he is a problem. That's gonna take me to my own next take, right? But first, we can talk about this. So basically, right now, the team is completely dysfunctional. Like in a sense that like the roles a little bit mixed up. From what I see, they don't have a clear identity at all on the map pool at all. Nothing. Ancient was like for them okay map, sometimes bad, sometimes a little bit better, and then you can see them like beating Maus, on that map, which is a strong map for them, and they lose to everyone, literally everyone on the very same map. That's not the map. That's the team. That's the team, and that's the coaching staff. That's the dysfunctional dynamic they have over there in the camp. Probably it's a confusion. They don't know what's going to happen in the future. That reflects the results. That reflects the individual performance of everyone. And if Monacy is not on the crazy level, they are struggling a lot. Now NiKo himself, I'm going to reveal you a little bit of a secret. Not even a secret, just a chat that we had NiKo and me a few months back on when we went out for a lunch or something. And I asked him like, hey, what's going on? Like how are you adapting to the game? And he said like the game itself, it's the way he explained it to me. The game itself is much more dynamic for him, and it's a bit faster, so he has trouble reading the round properly. So he can find himself in not on the same comfort spot that he was in CS:GO. He said like for now, that was like a few months back, right? That's the problem, and he's gonna, he said like I'll figure it out over time. It's gonna be fine, but for now, that's the biggest issue that I have. The game is too dynamic, and I'm having issues reading the rounds properly, so I can be on the right spot at the right time, reading the proper timings and everything else, right? So that's what he told me. But the thing is, like, I also think that's the part of the issues with him. I think the problem is the team itself, and it's not even just the Hooksy thing. It's much more than that at this point. I feel like they have like a lot of issues they need to solve. Obviously, we saw the map pool is terrible. They can only play pretty much Anubis. Every other map is shaky. Vertigo is shaky. Ancient, obviously. They don't play Mirage now. Overpass is out. They don't know what's gonna be with Dust 2. Like, Nuke has always been a go-to map for them, but right now they're running away from it. That shows lack of identity in the team and not a clear direction. I feel like that's the biggest problem right there. And right now he is going to suffer. He is going to suffer till whenever they decide to kind of reorganize themselves, whatever that means. Like either he's going or somebody else is going or whatever the fuck happens, right? He needs a change. Like whether it's gonna be G2 change or his change, he needs it to become the top rifler in the game, because he still has it. Like, it's not that he doesn't have it. He definitely has it, but he feels, for me, a little bit like all over the place and like lost kind of.
Yeah, the thing for me is I think Maui nailed it. This is the burden of impossibly high expectations. I mean, the joke is even NiKo at his peak was being called some sort of fraud/bomb because he didn't win the major. Like, he did everything else. Like, his body of work was insane. I even made the point that if the op didn't exist, wouldn't this guy be the GOAT? Like, the joke is, only Simple, because he is the GOAT, would have the balls to be like, no, because then I would have played him with the rifle and been better. But that's why we love Simple, because he's an outrageous bastard like that, who'd say something fucking mental like that, even though he didn't do it. But this is the thing. I agree. The problem here is this. NiKo, for the past, 5-6 years, has been like, let's be real, more like the top 5 player in the world, consistently. No matter his teammates, no matter their form, no matter the opponents, what meta it is, what map pool it is. So the point is, when you drop out of being top 5, and then it's debatable if you even are top 10, here's the thing. By stats, he can be, but obviously in playoffs, he dropped off a bit, right? Here's the question. Why would that suddenly make him not top 20, guys? Remember, when you go to the bottom of the top 20 each year, you're talking about a player that'll be like, we're talking like someone who does like a 1.15 rating and has like a couple of tournament runs. The year isn't even over. This guy already is in position where you only need like one nice playoff run to be right back in the mix. And then also, I'm just going to put this out there. If we're seeing top 20s, and that's the standard you guys all fucking care about, because remember, just like with the stats, you all worship what the fucking God Emperor from Serbia, not Kassad, the other one says. The fucking game will restart in 1 second. He's not even around anymore, guys, but his fucking Force Ghost still keeps appearing to do these top 20s. Right? You all worship that shit. Didn't you all agree that Stown was top 10 a whole bunch of years? This motherfucker turns up less in the playoffs than fucking Hugo back in the day at Star Series, like that joke I made before. Like, this motherfucker, he just fucking, even in Astralis now, he's like, right, that's my 1.5 rating for the group stage. See your device. I'm off. And he fucking just like, and then that device holds up a picture of the current Astralis lineup. It's like Back to the Future. Stown just fades away. Like, oh, where's he going? Oh my God. Marty, we've got to go back. Like, fucking, it's mental. So we're all fine with Stown doing that. He's allowed to do that. NiKo's never allowed to have even just an off period. Like, it's not even like people like he's in a down period. They're like, he's cooked, washed, kick him from the team. People were actually saying on those shows I was doing, like arguing against me. This is how I know it's not just that you think Huxley's a great IGL. You're actually sort of low-key in love with him, or emotionally you feel sorry for him because you think everyone's bullying him. By the way, motherfucker, this is sports, right? Erik ten Hag was awesome when he was in fucking Netherlands. He was even not bad initially at Man United. Do you know why I'll have no sympathy if he gets fired? Because he's at fucking Manchester United, you idiots. Like, even if right now they're not the best, they are supposed to be because of their history. They even have the money to spend. That's the job, like Huxley's, where it's like, there's only 2 options. Win or get the fuck out. And that's why, if you go back in time, I didn't, like Kassad, say fire him right at the beginning. When he kept winning tournaments, I was like, that buys him a few more months. That buys him the next major. Now he doesn't win tournaments. He just I think this turning Huxley thing again. Whatever. It's a fucking point, okay? It's a point. It's because I know people don't watch him. But anyway, the point is, I was reasonable with that. So we're saying with NiKo, like, I'm not going to say one player saves you, but guys, yesterday he made that, like, fucking play where, if you remember, Device was on the cast, by the way, an actual GOAT candidate of CSGO. When Device was watching NiKo do those fucking one-tap bursts in a motherfucker's heads, even he was like, in disbelief, but even he predicted he'd probably just keep doing it. And then he just did it and like completed the fucking ace or whatever. Like, if that's NiKo on a downturn, you know what? Here's the thing. You know what people are saying? Kick NiKo from G2. No, I'll tell you what. Let me have any of the top 10 teams. You can take one of their best riflers out of any of the top 10 teams. I'll take that team. Give me NiKo, as long as I speak English, and I'll be totally happy with that trade. Give me time to rebuild his confidence, put him in a different system, give him a different IGL. By the way, I noticed that as well. So Huxley gets all the credit for Huxley take again. Fucking m0NESY and NiKo fragging out and win him in tournaments. But then when NiKo goes to shit, that isn't Huxley's fault. Brothers, isn't this what you all claim IGLs do? Make players better and like elevate them and all this garbage. So what is it? Like, why is he never on to change system, etc.? So I think it's a mad, overblown take. Also, I'll just put this out there. I actually thought Peter, friend of the show, and also knows Kassad from back in the day, from the fucking NIP time. They did that little... Kassad was like the secret analyst of that fucking major run, if people don't know, because he came in with the cobblestone strats for Fnatic. Bit of deep law for people there. Back when he was coaching Indian teams. That's real. Apparently, I don't know why that's real. And then also, obviously, years later, obviously being friendly, etc. Now, I'll just say this. I thought he had a banger tweet thread. If you go read it on Twitter, where he actually explains, this is a guy who knows also coaching watching, by the way, guys. He understands team dynamics and systems. What he explained is the difference between JKS and Nexa on G2. And what he explained was, essentially, Nexa is like a mega passive lurker and just is there to throw the flash. And he's never there, by the way, to do the backstab or to pressure in the way that JKS could. Because remember, when JKS is the lurker like that on the outskirts, he's going to take a duel and win it, or he's going to push a site when you're doing the entry pack. Instead, cause in this team, it's like a fucking happy, envious team where it's like, if you see NiKo and flashes, then this is where the attack's coming from. They're never going to the fucking Nexus side of the map. So essentially, what you've done there is you've turned like NiKo into like fucking old school Apex or something. It's like time to run through a brick wall of flashes and smokes and fucking machine gun fire. Like that's not going to put a player like that at his best. If you love Forrest back in the day, like you all tell me you did, you never watched him play. That guy went in second behind a space creator almost his whole career, and he was fucking sick because of it, because he just cleaned up the site afterwards. He didn't just run in on his own with no fucking utility, like, haha, in I go. Like, that'll tank anyone's stats. And if anything, you know what? I've complained a lot about NiKo being a whiner or bad attitude. Have you ever seen him complain about this G2 in any context? Has he even given a hint that this is like not a good setup for him? He's getting fucked over. He's actually fucking buckled down, put his hard hat on and just gone to work. Now, he hasn't done as good a job, but like I said, I think he'll come back. And then lastly, even though I did absolutely keck at that fucking ridiculous duality of man, where it's like, NiKo was like, fuck, overpass. And then Huxley was like, overpass is gone on my fucking career. They're in the same team, by the way, guys. I will say, if you are NiKo, it's good news overpass is gone. One, you just didn't like it anyway. You probably still fucking... I bet it's because in your version of overpass, in your mind, NiKo, around the monster area, you have like a force ghost of automatic there. Like, remember that major, NiKo? Remember when you could have won 2-0, NiKo? You didn't though, did you? I won that one. Anyway, clean the confetti off your face, bitch. Right? That's why you hate overpass. Even though, by the way, it's way better than all the fun. You play Vertigo now, motherfucker, and you're telling me overpass sucks. How dare you? You should be fired for that opinion, not for any of your play. But Dust 2 coming back, even though it's not old school Dust 2. This is NiKo's dream, boys. This guy's going to be going up mid, clicking heads like that, and then fucking winning clutches all day long. So I predict, this is the easy. I agree. You're right, Maui. It's not a hot take because this is the easiest double down of all time. It's like, I'll just take Check's notes, NiKo, a bit like I will when Simple comes back. NiKo to be a top 20 player in the world. Like, how easy are we making this? That's like, I'm shooting from the the women's ball in WNBA where it's smaller. Like, I'm making threes all day long now. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, I love it. It's just this is just a purely community-driven one where it's so common for people to say after they lost to M80 the first time. I mean, people are like, NiKo's not a top 20 player anymore. I was literally reading comments like that, like NiKo's washed. The only reason to keep this team, blow the whole team up except for Monacy. It's like, no, like we could. I mean, I don't know if we'll even get into like the G2 changes on this roster or anything like that, but it's just the fact that people would say to get rid of NiKo. It's like, what on earth are you smoking? Like, it's just one series. And also, like, you look at all of the events he's played this year, every single event this year with NiKo, of course he has above a 1.0 KD as a rifler. Like, he's still, the level of consistency with this guy is still so strong. It's just that sometimes he doesn't hit those ungodly MVP highs that he did in CSGO as consistently.
Funny things that you said. I had to take a shot at Hooksy as well. Like saying, like when G2 is winning, like Hooksy is such a great IGL, but like when G2 is losing, fucking NiKo and Hunter, what the fuck are they doing? Nobody's saying like he's a bad. It's so crazy. The other thing, I believe that 80% of the people who are watching this don't know who Marty and Back to the Future is. So I would say that would be a hot take.
Listen, it's unfortunately you haven't nailed me on that, Kassad. It was a famous meme on Return of By the Numbers that all my references are from the 90s or 80s. And like the joke is there was literally an episode, this is real, when the VOD, just because I thought I'm sick of fucking getting wrecked for doing old references that don't make sense to Zoomers. There was one where I even made some rant, and then in the rant I referenced like, and then it's like getting some fucking new console like a Nintendo 64. And I had Sam edit the VOD and dub over his own voice going, GameCube or something, or like, you know, like fucking, so I was like, I'm sick of being fucking a million years out of date on all these references. Because the problem as well was I was talking to Richard Lewis and we are boomers, so everything's like, you know, some fucking 1993 film or something. And then they're like, exactly. I was born in 2001. Oh, fuck off, you little rat.
They were the best fucking movies though. Like back in the 90s, they were fucking crazy.
Yes.
It's my turn. Yeah. Fuck, where do I go with this? I was gonna go with G2, but I'm gonna go with Liquid. So this might be like on like current events.
Okay.
I am sure of it. that Liquid. My mind goes to G2 instantly. That Liquid should replace YEKINDAR with malbs.
Oh, damn
okay.
Instantly become like next level team, like than they are right now.
Okay.
This guy, like if you've been watching him on Pro League, and I'm sure you did, Maui, at least, has been insane. He has been a talent for a few years now. He played in Team One and all these like failed projects and stuff, but he has been on this team. He has been on fire. For me, he is the next Nerds. I think whoever grabs him first should get like should hit like a jackpot in a sense, right? He's not gonna be your superstar, but he's going to be your star player. And like he's going to be playing exactly the same roles. He's super aggro. He goes for those kills. He's confident. He gets the headshots. Look at the opening percentage in the stats of Pro League. He's like up there. He's very very strong, very sharp. He's very young, and he would fit that culture of Liquid perfectly. Simply because he's like his mentality. I think that as I remember that guy from back in 2021, I think he's super nice kid. He's no ego, no great personality, like no like huge personality. Sorry, and like nothing like really alarming about that. And obviously he can be bought for not so much money, and then his salary would be kind of normal comparing to, for example, YEKINDAR, who is one of the highest paid players right now, believe it or not, in CS overall. And he's not really delivering anything for Liquid. Like if you look at his stats, he's not IGLing anymore. He should be the one creating the space. He should be the one bombarding them with frags and getting the numbers and creating chaos and doing his thing that he did before. But he isn't. And Liquid is suffering. So now is the chance for them to actually grab the next potential Nerds or whoever, like for those entry frags, like in the past, like YEKINDAR was Stewie or all these people that were on that role, Config and so on, and just get him into the team and have a sick lineup in a sense.
Are you going to go against your boy YEKINDAR? Come on.
No, I was actually gonna make the take. Okay, I had my own hot take about malbs ready to go. Actually, I was gonna say it shoot it off in the second round. It was just that I was gonna say malbs is gonna end ESL Pro League with a higher rating than anybody on Liquid. I think he's just gonna play. I mean, he's gonna show, and like eye test wise, he's gonna look better than everybody on Liquid. So this would be a slam dunk move. People also. It's like we always push our agendas about certain players when we do this stuff. I mean, people asked me before, okay, so you didn't really like the Skull 600K signing. Who would have you gotten? I was like, you could have just got Rek. Rek plays all the same roles also on M80, and he wouldn't have been $600,000 like Skulls was, and there wouldn't have been that kind of grace period that we have to allow someone like Skulls, where it's like, oh, the language barrier is why he's not playing well, because obviously Rek's he's from America. Like, he obviously speaks English too. I didn't think that they'd both end up on the same team, that both of Liquid's next potential signing should have probably just been malbs and Rek, and been much cheaper, and probably been just as good. I mean, probably actually even better, because yeah, malbs has been sensational for some time. And you're right. I mean, I can tell he doesn't have much of an ego, because I still have more of an ego than him, because I still hold on to the fact that I actually beat malbs in an official back in like 2020, 2021 or whatever, when I was competing. Like, malbs has been for such a long time the player in North America where it's just all you have to do is watch this guy for one BO3, and you're going to see something crazy happen in terms of pure mechanical ability. I feel like in the years prior to this one, I feel like maybe like earlier 2023, when I just kind of like keep an eye on him in like 2023, 2022, he did definitely have that knack that a lot of entry fraggers unfortunately do, which is overextending, like going a little bit further, like that one peak more than you're supposed to. I don't think I really saw that all that often, especially when he's playing against G2 twice. He was definitely not the reason that he was when they lost to G2. It was more so like other things collapsing around him. I think malbs has been just a revelation for M80 at Pro League. I feel like if Liquid were to actually pull the trigger on malbs, I think a few things would improve drastically beyond the fact that he is outputting more directly in the server. It's that he's probably saying less outside the server. He's going to take in everything that Cadian wants to run in terms of a system because he knows now that he's playing with the most tenured, experienced in-game leader that he's ever probably going to have. And so for Malbs, like, he's just going to soak things up like a sponge. Ever since Sin and Def had joined M80 and Malbs have been playing under them, I just feel like he got better too as a player. So there's so many ways that Malbs can grow and develop further than what we've already seen, and he's already just smashing tier 1 opposition in terms of mechanics and just game sense.
I will say on the YEKINDAR side, because obviously like who you remove is a key part of this hot take. I actually think, unfortunately, we have arrived at the point where that has to be a consideration. Because, like, if you look it up, if we only even just take LAN matches, right? On LAN, Team Liquid has played, I think it was like 25 maps, and the rating for YEKINDAR is 1.01, and the fragging's pretty low, right? The problem with that is, you didn't hire this guy to do that. You hired this guy to be remember, he used to break the impact rating on HLTV. Like, he would make the number go like as far right as it could go, because essentially it was a famous stat, right, in VP. Like, if he won the first kill, it felt like their win rate was like 80% on the round or something, just off one kill. And he was doing some of that brute force. Like, so the genius of this player, there's no point having him, in my opinion, if he doesn't have some of that. Because what you want him to be right now in this team is someone who not only frags heavily, he doesn't do that, but you want him to be that player who breaks a game open, who does things in the round that mean that then people who come in after him, Naf's going to clean up a game if YEKINDAR has opening entries. People like fucking Twists, they're going to be doing shit themselves, following up and on the outskirts of the map. Like, you're going to have people like Cadian just win a clutch. He doesn't even have to be a fragger at that point in time. YEKINDAR absolutely is the bottleneck right now on this team. And even though you think of him as Mr. Team Liquid, he's been there the whole time, right? Yeah, but that was because he had that extended period, which he did to himself, where he was IGLing, and we're now also in CS2, by the way, guys. People keep reminding me, it's not CSGO, Thorin, stop the old narratives. Then you tell me YEKINDAR should be cut, because by the logic of CS2, he's not the player he once was. And, look, I don't know if Malbs is the one I would take, but I'll tell you what, if I look at Malbs entirely, first of all, he's also had a mad glow up in CS2, and CS2 he is cooking. Guys, he played 17 maps at this Pro League and posted bonkers numbers. Remember, he played G2 in 2 series. Like, he's not playing like fucking Rooster Gaming or whatever and then dropping 0.8 kills per round. So the eye test checks out like a motherfucker right now. Obviously, I don't know whether he's got the experience level where I'd chuck him in Team Liquid, but again, depends what your finances are. I do think, though, I'm not saying cut him necessarily, but YEKINDAR is on the most hot of hot seats right now, especially when I'll just throw this in there. You are not North American, bro. So there is a world also where if they take someone who, as long as they're not fucking... I mean, if they take a North American person, they can also just play in the North American qualifier still. Or if they take this guy, they can still play it at this point in time. Because then I've got like 2 fucking South Americans and then 2 North Americans who can still play the same RMR thing. Like, in that scenario, mate, because you're not an NA player, you don't have status in this team where you can uncuttable. So I don't think it's a terrible hot take. I think it's reasonable in that sense. Right, now this is a hot take. Are you ready? Because this is a hot take in all senses. I even think most analysts are going to disagree with me. So you know the story, and I'll tell you right now, it's if you already watched the fucking major, this story exists. So the story of Eternal Fire goes like this. It's a super team of Turkish players. By the way, I do agree with that. It's got the best historical Turkish players. And actually, all you need to know is even Calix can pop off guys. And he's actually been sort of made the bitch role player. But because he has a mad fucking skill level from CSGO, even he can have the odd pop-off game. And the problem is... it's not even just that it's the Turkish super team, it's the romance of Madja. And I'm going to say this is the hot take. It's a 2-parter. The reason why I know Madja cannot be a world-class in-game leader. And by the way, his team was number 7 on HLTV before they lost that game to like FaZe or whatever. So they were very high up. The reason I know he cannot be a world-class player is because if you're telling me he has a super team and every other player's sick, there'd be more results than this. Like, he's actually had, I looked this up also, he's had 40 maps on LAN. I looked this up. I did 40 maps on LAN, I did top 20. 40 maps played, right? First of all, if you have a super team, you play that many maps, you'd be getting bigger results than one fluke, make it to the major, and then don't win a map in the playoffs. And then here's the second part of the hot take. Even though in context it's a Turkish super team, this team lives and dies on the back of Xantares in reminiscent fashion to Space Soldiers. Because here's some stats for you. Not only over the 40 maps is Xantares 1.20 rating. The second is Wikidia, the rookie guy. He's 1.09. Everyone else is below 1.0. This is the stat that will tell you right now. It is isn't Madger and it isn't anyone else in this team. I said it was opening kill stats. He's 1.20 overall. Opening kills, listen, opening kills against top 20 teams, 40 maps played. Xantares attempts 31.1% of entries and makes 50.8%. That is impossible. I even used to be a critic of this guy. I can't be anymore. He might drop off in playoffs, but I'll tell you what, on LAN in a fucking group stage game, this guy, how much more do you want to be on his back? You just want to make him the IGL too. So, one, I don't think Magic can be a world class. Look, he might be a legacy IGL, might be all right. He might even be might motivate the guys. He might call a basic game. But, mate, this team is just on Xantares' back. That's why I don't want to hear anyone shit on Xantares, by the way. Those numbers I just said are fucking impossible. And look at the events they played in those 40 maps. It's only the biggest events in the world. It's a hot take. There you go.
What is the actual take?
That Magic can't be a world-class IGL, and this team only lives and dies off Xantares. I think that's pretty hot take. Everyone else is telling me they're a real top 8 team, Thorin, and the whole team contribute. Hey, YEKINDAR's back. What do you know? YEKINDAR, he'll be top 20. Magic, I think he's really fucking good. Everyone's fucking loving this team right now. They were from Katowice, mate. So there you go. There's my hate to take. Hit me with it. Disagree? You can disagree.
You're wrong. That's the thing. I don't think you're wrong. Like, I'm looking at the actual rankings, and I don't think you're wrong. I think you're spot on when it comes to Xantares. The guy is just insane.
He's
like,
mad, isn't he?
What he does, like, you know how difficult it is to actually, like, go and get that percentage of opening kills in your favor? Like, it's unbelievable. Like, I've been playing, obviously, every day, practicing playing, whatever, like, the tier is. It's goddamn hard. Like and he's doing it on the very highest level on LAN, like against every tier 1 opposition there is.
Yes.
Like from spirits to phase to whatever the fuck it is, and he keeps doing it in a high percentage.
Yes.
Like that is mental, right? So he is the one that is like carrying that team pretty hard, right? YEKINDAR is a good player. Maybe I was a little bit overboard when I said it's top 20. Maybe.
By the way, in the future he might be. I could see him getting there eventually. Yeah.
I'll give you that one. But the thing is that he's a good player. Overall, yes, YEKINDAR is delivering some sort of...
He's not better than Kassad. We can admit he's not better than Kassad. Okay, we've put that one away. That's okay.
Yeah,
back on the shelf. One away. Put that hot take back on the shelf. Okay.
That's fine. That's fine. I'll give you that one.
Okay.
The thing is, like, those two players are carrying the team, like, let's say 70-30, 75-25 in a sense. YEKINDAR, Alex, they're on an okay level, not definitely top 8 team level, no chance. And Meyer, like, I don't know. I don't know where to put him. I never rated him as a tier 1 IGL, never really did. He is a super nice guy. You can see it by like the way he conducts himself in the interviews and everything.
Sure.
Like he does look like a genuine normal person, but like I don't know about his in-game leading, skills for me are not top 8 right now, and I'm looking at you, Thorin. You want to say something, but you're holding it in. But the thing is, like, I'm looking at the rankings right now, and they're like right now they're 7th. Vitality is a better team than them, right? Spirit, Maus, Navi, FaZe, all better team than them. G2, I guess you can say like they have their problems, but still overall, because of Monacy and NiKo, they should be a better team than them. Astralis is looking better than them.
Yep.
BP is looking better than them, and then like you have Heroic, they're probably looking better than them. It's just like even Liquid. Okay, maybe not Liquid, but the thing is like they are maybe top 15 right now, but top 7, I don't think so.
The thing with Eternal Fire is that they've already hit the ceiling that I thought they could and would hit. Top 8 at playoffs at some point in 2024. It already happened. I don't really know where they go from here. One thing that I will say that did make me be a little bit suspect of their T-sides is that the maps that they're really good at T-side on are all just the maps that are very T-sided in general. They play Vertigo all the time, which everybody really knows at this point is it's a lot of A ramp. But the thing is, like, whereas I was a little bit, I'll say this, I can enjoy a Vertigo game from Eternal Fire a little bit more than other teams just because they have a lot of tricks on the CT side. They have a lot of nade protocols. I feel like they never let people plant on A. Like they'll always just like have a stockpile of grenades ready. But these are things on the CT side, and these are little protocols. And also the things on T side are more just predicated on on Vertigo, you know, you take ramp, you walk away from it, you walk up to B. Like it's a lot more basic as a calling map. But then when you get Major and Eternal Fire on some of the maps that are a little harder to actually call on, say like an overpass, well then they start becoming abysmal. Even a map like Mirage, which you would think a map like that should really suit somebody like Xantares, but they have also an abysmal T-side round win percentage. They win 41% of their rounds on the T side there with Major calling, and that's pretty despicable. Nuke as well. I feel like one time I watched them have a really good Nuke game against BetBoom, but a lot of the rating that they have is just farmed off of like tier 2 teams. And so when it comes to Eternal Fire, I feel like they do have actually really strong pieces. I don't necessarily know where they would go for like another in-game leader, but the take doesn't really have to be about that. Is Major a top 10 in-game leader right now? I would say no. I would say no. And there's a couple people like kassad already said, some of the teams that are above him, I would take all of their in-game leaders, but for IGLs that are beneath him, I would take Jame, I would take Kixan, I would take Big Uzera, I would actually take Chait over him. I would take Glaive on Ents right now. There's a lot of people I would be taking it over him for Major right now. So
I'd take fucking Jay-Z without any reasonable doubt, Maui, but whatever. Whatever. Who gives a shit on that?
Come on.
By the way, I'll give you even one other stat. The problem is this one's hard to understand if you're a pleb. So obviously, mainly you only get the AK on the T side of the game, and I can't look up. There's no way I have the access to the database to know how many T rounds they've played, right? But maximum, you can only play normally 12 T rounds in a regulation game, right? And obviously, if you win a lot of maps, there's some games you're not going to have all 12, right? If you look up over those 40 maps on LAN, the average for a map of how many AK kills Xantares gets is 8.
Yeah.
He averages over maps. So if a map's 13-3, doesn't matter, and he walls it. That is also bonkers. I know to a fan, what's 8 AK kills? Like, again, that's like, this guy is, and by the way, that's the other thing. He's not an AWPer, guys. He's doing it all with it. He's entrying, and he's the AK player. Like, at that point, like, it's his crosshair fucking carrying this team. Not like some genius shit. It's not the Turkish. Those are all great. By the way, here's the way I'll spin it into a positive at the end. If you actually don't overhype all this shit, they have accomplished something incredible. Turkey was not ever a relevant region in Counter-Strike. Even in Space Soldiers, they were just a meme that was online, and they could do an upset at a major. They could never make the deep run. To actually be in position where you can murk through a Swiss system, where you can go to playoffs and talk, that, and to be in the playoffs, and like, they were almost like in Katowice, mate. Like, that is huge. If you put it in context, it is a fucking success story. That would be something I'd film a documentary about if I'm from their region. It's just don't go too far the other way, you know, because I always think if a star's carrying, you have to give him his credit, not just share it to all his teammates, you know. Like, I'm sorry, no amount of flashes or cool lurks or strats is making the Xantares crosshair go on the head and tap the head off. Because, by the way, this is another guy. Look, he's not on the same level, but if you want to see AK mechanics like NiKo, watch fucking Xantares, mate. It's clean as fuck. It's so fucking sick. He's one of those guys who does like the 3 quick headshots in a row as he enters a site. The guy's a fucking beast.
Please.
All right, another hot take from anyone?
Maui's turn, right?
Yeah. I have one. Yeah, I had to have one take that would definitely, probably, like, it's more against the community. But I kind of figured you guys would agree with it.
Okay.
I feel like now this one I think should lead to a little bit more debate, and it's just that looking at G2, and if I were, so I've thought about this kind of more from a GMing standpoint, and it's like, okay, you have to make one change on G2 to make them better. What would you change?
I can already guess. Are you ready? He's not going to say Huxley or NiKo. What he's going to say, he's going to kick out Nexa and he's going to put Yimpat in there.
No. It's not Nexa.
I thought I had to.
It's Taz. It's Taz.
It's Taz. Holy fuck. Okay, right.
It's Taz. It's easily Taz. I've already talked about Taz before. But if I'm thinking about like 1-for-1 changes that can help a team, especially what we talked about earlier, where it's like the identity of G2 isn't working. Because the thing is that, yes, yeah, like as a player, you could probably find some sort of upgrade. Frankly, I don't, other than just bringing JKS back, which, okay, maybe you could do that. Like that could be the move for 1-for-1 that would actually make them better. But I'm ruling that one out. But I was thinking of other kind of free agents that are out there or people that are benched right now. And like Blame F is a cool idea. Like Blame F is, don't get me wrong, Blame F is a great idea, but he wouldn't fit Nexus spots. I don't think that would really work at all. So I wouldn't really want that. And so if I think about, okay, what else is something within G2's wheel wheelhouse or like what's something in that they could afford, I feel like there's definitely more coaches that are out there that they could actually pick from. And again, like I look at somebody like Saw. I've rated Saw incredibly highly. How he's able to structure and system like put a team together. With what Saw is doing right now with Heroic. Is he going to join G2? I mean, I don't know. It puts a lot more pressure on him, but it's just one of those moves where I don't see any reasonable contribution from Taz in those games versus M80. I was watching quite closely on the what happens if Death calls a timeout. Okay, M80 wins rounds after that, even if they have pistols. When G2 calls a timeout with Taz, well, one, he didn't even actually use all of his timeouts in a lot of games, and two, it was kind of just like a coin flip. It was like, okay, are they going to win this or not? It didn't really have any real impact. If anything, you could literally just pick up Death from M80, and I think he would be better than Taz as well.
There's the hot take. It's way backed into the maddest part of the hot take. It's not only like kick Hall of Fame player Taz immediately from a team of court, but also fuck it, just put Def from the UK and Valorant in there. Have this fucker go on. Just pop
Def on M80 was out calling him on timeout. The timeouts was just he was destroying him on those. I mean, that I would just take from a lot of different people to be the coach over Taz.
Come on then. No, there's no way Boomer
he made sense and everything was like, everything made sense and I understand what he was trying to say. Then he said, yeah, even Def should just be there, and I just fucking stopped listening. Like, you are, what the fuck, man? It's crazy. Anyway, the thing is, like, you cannot say 1-for-1. That's the thing. Like, if you say 1-for-1, we all know who is going. Right, and also I do agree when it comes to Taz.
It's the way every take.
Would you also
obviously?
Taz?
No, he means Hooksy. Every take backs in Hooksy getting fired.
You mean Hooksy?
Say 1-for-1, like that's it. Like it has to be that. Like it has to be. But the thing is, I do understand what you're trying to say. I don't think removing Taz or kicking him would accomplish what you think it would accomplish. I think it would help, but I don't think it would accomplish what you think. Like. In your head, right? I get what you're saying completely, but the thing is, like, this team is, like I said, dysfunctionally. They don't have a direction. They don't know what the future holds. They don't feel like a unit anymore. They used to feel like a unit when JKS was there. It doesn't have to do anything with JKS or Nexus, but just the way they looked back then. At least from the outside and inside the server, they were like playing good. They were confident. They were like, they were getting out of these crazy bad situations, coming out of top, losing 0-1, then going to 2-1 all the time. It was just there, and people would believe it, and you can see that they would believe in it. Now they don't believe in shit. Like, they're losing 2-0 to M80. They're losing like all these games. Like, they barely made it to the playoffs over the same team. It's just removing Taz. Obviously, he's not like really doing anything crazy there, like at all. Removing him would help definitely getting somebody more experienced, somebody better who can rally up the troops, who can organize the things, who can build up a system that can work, whatever the fuck, right? But like, the thing for me, obviously, besides the Hooksy, I'm gonna go say something wild. That's gonna go like on top of your hot take. I don't think NiKo and Hunter should play together anymore.
I mean, all I'm going to say is, technically, neither did NiKo up until 1 second before that contract had to be signed. Oh, I do notice, by the way, everyone missed that detail of that move. Guys, you think he couldn't have told Falcons bring Hunter too? But you notice he didn't. He just tried to join Falcons without him. In fact, it was implied it was Munacy he wanted with him. So I will say, people do still say you can never cut Hunter because Hunter and Nick. It's like that's a story from years ago, as far as I can tell now.
That was never the truth. Like they wanted to play together, but like they understand what this business is like, what this game is like, what does it mean, right? They're not stupid. Like even there was a rumor, which I think it was true based on what I understand and know, that Vitality was like about to get Hunter as well. Okay. When NiKo was supposed to go to Falcons, and none of this happened, so they have no problem separating each other for like the good of their own careers. That's not gonna affect their relationship, like or what something like that stupid people would think. Like it would never happen. Just like the reason for that, I think maybe it's time to split them up. Maybe they don't complement each other the way they thought it would be happening, right? Maybe it's better for both of these careers to go separate ways. Doesn't really matter who stays, who goes, but to go like in different teams, basically not to play in the same team, for both of them to kind of progress and get what they need to get. Because we saw Hunter, like, yes, he has terrible maps, he has like terrible ratings, but we also saw him carrying some games as well. Like the skill is still there. I know the work ethics is there. Like he's not like disappeared, but maybe something like I said, it's a dysfunctional team right now. That was like dismantled piece by piece by some behind the scenes things, right? Probably. And the thing is, like, it's just right now it's all affecting that. And like Duncan said about like Ten Hag and everything in Manchester United, like they are the team that's Manchester United. Like they need to be in the conversation for the highest placing on every event. Especially when you have those players, especially when you have Monesi, right? And NiKo. Obviously, Manchester United doesn't have the caliber of Monesi and NiKo in their own team, but it's still the winning culture. It's still the history, the fans, the all things like considered, and the money they have on top of everything, right? So it needs to be like that right now. What the solution for G2 is, I have no fucking clue, and I don't even care at this point. But the thing is, like, just removing Taz might help a little bit, but in the long run, it will just stay the same.
Put it this way, I'll also try not to make every reference a fucking English football reference. It's Maui's just going to be like, brilliant. Okay, so when do the Europeans stop talking? Like, so what I'll do is I'll say on this one, since I used Manchester United already before, right? I'll do two references. I'll do a football one and an NBA one for Maui. So actually, I guess the analogy here for the Taz move would be this, right? First things first, disclaimer: I am incredibly biased in favor of Taz because I do think he is one of the greatest like figures to ever be in Counter-Strike, literally at all. Not even just as a player. Look, he was a very great player in 1.6. He was a good player in CS:GO, but I mean as a figure. Like, it's the reason I once wrote a column. You can probably find it on the internet still about Taz's heart. And the reason I actually was sad that VP broke apart is because he was the first person who had to go. And if you don't know, Neo was like the hands who were doing the boxing and shooting the guns. But the heart of that team was Taz. That was the guy who had the unbeatable like fucking charisma and the never say die attitude and could somehow, he used to do this shit where he was like delusional in the best possible way. Like he would think they were better than like Get Right and Forest's teams and Mark Love and others. And by the way, they weren't, but that insane belief that you were better meant they could sometimes upset them and take a trophy or a major from them. One of the reasons this team won all those majors is this guy had this insane drive. Now, I want to believe so badly that's going to happen as a coach. I even see why G2 of all teams thought to bring this guy in. Like, we're a bit lackluster now. People have lost their mojo. Tell you what, bring in the guy who's essentially like the ultimate fucking, like, the essence of the spirit you want to fight for things. What you'd want G2 to be. Now, I will say, though, the reason why I won't protect him completely and say he can't be fired, though, it's a bit like the point before, but I'll use a different team and I'll use an NBA one also. I'll give you another example. Another team that has a lot of recent heritage in the last 20 years and has the money to be great and should be is Chelsea Football Club, Kassad. Cole Palmer is like one of the best players in the whole Premier fucking league. This guy's like fucking caning goals in all. He's like tied for the most goals in the league. But the reason they're nowhere close is because they pissed away all that money they have. They haven't got like a manager who always gets it done. He kind of bottles it a little bit. And so, again, it doesn't matter if they're fifth or sixth. That isn't good enough when you have that money and that player and that situation. You're supposed to live up to the legacy of like you can win a Champions League. You can be in the team. You should be in the three-man hunt for the fucking title right now. It's a two-man hunt now. I'm a Liverpool fan. Fuck it. It's gone. It's Arsenal versus fucking Man City. And here's the analogy for Maui, right? Even though every fan's going to tell you otherwise, the Mavericks will not be winning the NBA championship this year, Maui. In fact, I'll be surprised if they make the fucking conference finals. But I'll tell you what, I would say you have to at least say fucking that Doncic is a contender for the best player in the world and one of the hardest carries in the game. So if you have that player, same concept. Shouldn't you be contender for the championship? Like, if you're anyone except that guy, isn't your job on the line? If you're the coach, if you're the GM, if you're the fucking second and third best players, don't you have to ask yourself, are you doing enough? So I will say this if you're Taz, right? I don't want you to be fired or replaced, but you did this to yourself, mate. Because as we pointed out, and my own friends did this, Henry G did it as a GM, Moses did it as a coach, you couldn't take the fucking small job, like the analogy given on the last episode about Bayer Leverkusen and fucking Alonso. You couldn't take the small job, sure you're sick, and then work your way up after essentially like earning your status. You had to take the biggest job in the game that was available. And so when you do that to yourself, I'm going to give you a little bit of extra time. But I'll tell you what, if you don't produce the results, even if the players are failing, you're going to get fired. That's the way this game works. And it's the harsh reality of the fucking sport. And so if we're going to be fair and say that people I don't like should be fired, well then eventually, Taz, you have to be in that mix too, because unless you can work your magic, why are you here? I'm just going to say it. Why are you here at that point in time?
Absolutely, it goes for everyone, not just Taz in that team, not just like the Chelsea coach or anybody else. It's like it's the way it works right now,
Yes.
right? He made a mistake by going into the highest, like the hottest
Yep.
job seat, hottest seat in the fucking game. Is the G2 coaching like seat, right? Because everybody expects you to win titles immediately, not like in 6 months,
Yes.
not in 3 months, instantly to
Yes.
become better. And if you don't do it, they're gonna point fingers, and that's your own fault for taking that job. Like you could have gone into some sort of like a smaller team, smaller org,
Yeah.
get your like things like and then move up. And there you go. You mentioned Saw, for example, right, Maui? He started in nowhere. He started in ends, right, with this like lineup, whatever it was. They built it through. He built up his name. Now he took a way better job, like on paper, right, with more paid
Sure.
job in Heroic, trying to build something up there. He has a great IGL. He's like has a solid team. They're missing I guess a world class opera right now, but still they're doing something. They play the major. They play these events. They're not like super good, but they're not bad team. They're top 10 team right now. You can say it right now, and that's a short period of time. Right, he gathered some good. This is what Taz should have done as well. Team like Ants, team like whoever like in that tier, and just go from there, grind your way up. He's not a stupid guy. Nobody. There's also a problem like there's also a problem, Duncan, because the way you and me see Taz from the past, the figure that he is, right? Like the charisma, the trophies, the heart and soul of that like Polish squad and everything. I don't think this new generation they don't see it like that. You think Monesi sees it like that?
Oh, I have to say, by the way, I've actually heard it implied. I don't know if he said it himself, but like a lot of the newer people, they didn't follow the game like that. So some of them, for real, are just sort of like, I didn't really watch you, to be fair. So they don't, they don't see him as that figure. I'm afraid, they don't. They weren't there.
For us, he is the person. Like for me, he's the person. When I was like starting like looking seriously to Counter-Strike, the person on the fucking screen that I was looking at, like what the fuck on the stage they're winning. Look at the way that he is playing. Look at this. They were when I started playing against them, they were literally unreadable. Like it was so difficult to counter them, almost impossible. You can't find a gap in their game. Like that was their biggest strength. Like but this is a different fucking job. This is different. This is different world right now, and you need to fucking be in it. And it's not gonna adapt towards you. You need to adapt towards that. So that's what he needs to think about. I don't know if he has how much time he has in actual G2 right now, or what's gonna happen. But right now, it's not looking good for any of them.
Here's the analogy I'd give you. I don't even think it's impossible he becomes a great coach, but the problem is you don't get to learn on the job. Like you don't. It's like if someone had talent at driving, but they'd never driven in Formula One, kassad, you don't put them in the best car. They're not gonna win the first year. You do exactly this. You put them in the 8th best car. They get like a few times they come 5th and one podium place 3rd, and then later 3 years down the line when you've shown they can do everything, they can do the pit stops, they can work with the team, the construction thing. Then they get the spot in fucking Mercedes or Ferrari. That's when you do it. Because that's why I say, unfortunately, the reason why I'm not being harsh here is Taz chose to put himself in this position, like my friends did. By the way, I had to eventually say Moses should be fired because you looked at the results. It's like, bro. Doesn't matter how many cool beers we had and how many awesome chats we had on a podcast. The job right now, you're fucking up other people's career if you aren't the best coach for this team. That's just the reality. That's why if people think we're hating, no, we're actually trying to like defend like essentially the people who do their jobs in these teams.
People don't get it that way. They just see like, oh, yeah, just toxic and shit. Like they don't see it that way. Also, like the best example in English football is Arteta, right? He was the fucking assistant manager to Pep Guardiola for years. For years, sitting next to him, learning, and now he is leading Arsenal into this era of success, right? Playing the quarterfinals Champions League, fighting for the title after like between all of these like super rich teams and shit, right? And it's like that's the way to do it. That's the proper way to do it. But sadly, many people don't understand that, so it's just whatever.